Good afternoon. Today we're here to announce that Arthur Williamson has been charged with the following: 7 counts. First, homicide, murder in the first degree. Second, homicide, felony murder. 2 counts of assault with intent to murder. And 3 counts of unlawful imprisonment. I want to also give an update on our victims. Nicole Gurton, 35, is stable and being held for observation. Our 10-year-old is critical but stable condition, and our 5-year-old has been released at this time. As a father, this has been a difficult time for all of us. Our prayers are with the victims and their families during this tragic time. Our officers, detectives, and partners have worked tirelessly around the clock and will continue to do so to ensure justice for our victims. Domestic violence has victimized too many in our community. If you are a victim or someone you know is a victim, please reach out for help. I want to thank our partners, to include Supervisor Kirsten, Prosecutor Lucido, Michigan State Police, Selfridge Air Base, Anchor Base Schools, and each of the members of the Chesterfield Township Public Safety Department. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Prosecutor Lucido.
Thank you, Chief. As Chief indicated, this is a very unfortunate and also a very sad situation. These situations can be avoided, but we need the proper tools at all times. We'd like to thank not only Chesterfield Township for their extraordinary job that they did in this case, but I also have to do one for all of us, and that would be the supervisor in his leadership with the community, because it does do a job on the entire community. It stresses the entire community, as well as it also lends itself to questioning whether or not this is a community that is safe. And I can say with clearness and directness that yes, it is, because of the extraordinary job the Chesterfield Township Police Department has done in this case. I want to thank also the staff of the Macomb County Prosecutor, especially Steve Fox, who's to my left. His leadership on the Major Crime Unit has led itself to these charges that were brought as a result of the good police work on behalf of Chesterfield Township. Moving forward, there may be additional charges that will be added because the investigation is still ongoing. So every day we look at evidence as well as information, that which is coming and that which we have already received. And we will finalize everything once everybody does their part in this case. At this time here, we open it up for some questions. If there's any questions, we stand ready to at least supply you what information we can.
What more can you tell us about the suspect? What was his relationship with Nicole? Why was he there?
You know what? If I had an answer, I would give it to you, but unfortunately at this time, the relationship that had been established, we know that that it was not a breaking and entering, or it was a relationship that didn't show that he was not an unwanted guest at the place. But again, because of Nicole and the situation that's occurred right now, it's ongoing. I mean, she suffered some injuries also, and trauma. Let's face it, family goes through trauma.
So what happened, Mr. Lucido? Can you just kind of walk us through what happened here?
The chief can give you better details because he was, the Chesterfield Township was first on the scene, and as a result, you can expect one thing: what has happened in this place, and as a result, you have to start to put the pieces together, which is not always easy. You're saying to yourself, was this a suicide of some sort? Was this a murder? What was it? And as a result of what we have learned thus far, it appears as though the individual in this case, was charged with homicide as well as felony murder for the following reason. What we believe and suspected to believe that this was a homicide. This was a murder. There was also assault with intent to murder on the individual. And then the last thing is this false imprisonment, when you're holding people like this, tying them up. So again, he's innocent until proven guilty. Everyone is. That's the system we live under. But unfortunately, we discern the facts, we hear the statements that we've had so far, and we move forward with charges, and we will continue to add charges as we have evidence that is being brought forth.
Do you know what time he arrived, the defendant arrived?
arrived at the residence and how long he was there?
You can only suspect things that you can try to put together, but because there's limited clarity at this point because of not only the victims in this case that are hospitalized and the ones that need care and treatment, and let's face it, the mother with her loved children, I mean, her most important thing right now is her children. So a lot of that stuff and that information is still forthwith coming.
I know this gentleman has an extensive rap sheet. I know that you also say that this is sort of an isolated incident, that this community is safe. Have you, in any circumstance or situation, dealt with this gentleman at any point in time in this particular community? Any issues that may have arisen from this gentleman?
We can only tell you what, like you see, is on Otis because that's public information. But as far as whether or not he has had any active contacts in this community, we haven't seen any. No.
Chief, we have to ask you a quick question. Is this a domestic violence incident? Can you just kind of lay out what happened here so we understand the facts?
So, as the prosecutor said, that we're doing our best to establish the timeline. This is based on our investigation up to this point. He arrived sometime, the individual arrived sometime in the middle of the night. Exact time we're still trying to establish. We believe that Jim Matthews, as he was known, arrived sometime around 6 in the morning. The only other firm timeline we have is that we were called at approximately noon. So between that, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of the details, and we're still working with that. And as I said, for the family's privacy and their healing, we're trying to work with them as best they can, but obviously their medical care needs to be priority.
He was staying there at least that night or for a while?
Again, he arrived sometime during the middle of the night and was welcomed in, as a guest of the home.
So was there a romantic relationship between, I mean, I guess when you guys say domestic, we think relatives, we think sexual, we think something. I mean, can you guys, I know you can't release a lot of information, but what can you shed as far as what type of relationship this was? I mean, was this a family friend? Was this a boyfriend? I mean...
This is somebody who has been there in the past. To your question, exactly what the nature of the relationship, we're still trying to develop that.
Any other questions?
Can you talk at all about, I know you said that he was overdosing at the time when police arrived. Can you talk anything more about that?
Well, I'm happy to speak to that in the fact that the Chesterfield Department of Public Safety went in, immediately provided medical aid for our victims and our suspect. Without question, we believed it was an overdose. We had our fire department in there, and we did treat him medically on the scene and then immediately transported him to an area hospital.
Can you talk about the manner of how Jim Matthews was killed?
So the only thing we have is blunt force trauma, and we won't get into more detail than that. Any other questions?
Thank you all for your time. I know that this is ongoing. There will be more information released as it becomes available. But again, for the privacy as well as the respect of this family lives in this community. We would also tell you all to respect their privacy as well as what they're going through. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.